Okay, photosynthesis. Exact opposite of respiration. In photosynthesis, you will get carbon dioxide and water reacting to form glucose and oxygen. All right. Now, in photosynthesis, the organelles that carry out photosynthesis are my chloroplasts. So these green things I'm going to call my chloroplasts. And I find the majority of my chloroplasts in the palisade cells. If I was to draw a very, very simple plant, okay, here's my very simple plant, with a very, very simple leaf. All right. My very, very simple leaf is always going to be pointed towards where the sun is, so it can absorb as much light as possible for carrying out photosynthesis. My palisade cells I will find on the top half of the leaf, on this bit up here, because this is where it gets the most sunlight. So my palisade cells are strategically placed so that my leaf can get as much light as possible. Now, where do I get my carbon dioxide from? Well, at the bottom of my plant I've got those tiny little holes, those tiny little stomata. So my stomata allow my carbon dioxide to come in to the plant. Now there's a high concentration of CO2 out here and a small concentration of CO2 in here. Therefore my carbon dioxide will diffuse in. So my carbon dioxide will diffuse into my chloroplasts. Water I will get from the roots. Now the roots of my plant have got root hair cells. My root hair cells are a huge surface area, they're very, very thin, so it allows water to come in by osmosis, which is the movement of water from high water concentration to low water concentration across a semi-permeable membrane. So my osmosis has occurred to get my water into the root hair cell, and then a thing called transpiration means that the water will move all the way up the plant towards the leaf. Okay, so between osmosis and transpiration, my leaf gets water. Now transpiration is the movement of water through the xylem tubes up into the leaf. I might just put that down there. Okay. So transpiration of water up into the leaf, I get my water into my cell. So my water, when it is coming into the plant cell, it's not going to diffuse, it is going to transpire in my xylem into my chloroplast. And then what about glucose and oxygen? Okay, so my chloroplasts have made my glucose and oxygen. A small amount of glucose and oxygen will be used by the cell for respiration, because all living things respire, even plant cells. The bit of glucose and oxygen that isn't used in that plant cell for respiration has to be given to the rest of the plant. The rest of my plant needs to have glucose and oxygen in order to respire itself, even my root hair cells. Now my root hair cells are underground, so they've got no access to the sun. So you know, my sun rays are going to come down, my root hair cells aren't going to get them. So there's another tube inside my plant called a phloem. Phloem is the type of vessel inside a plant that allows the movement of glucose. Now phloem is a bit weird because plants aren't as simple as this. Some plants, you know, they can have structures like flowers on the top or other things like that. They also need to get food into them. So my flowing vessels don't just go up from the roots to the leaves. My flowing vessels go, down to the roots and also up to the leaves. So my flowing vessels are what we call bidirectional. They go in two directions. So my glucose is going to be sent down to the rest of my plant through the phloem. So my glucose is going to come out of my plant into my phloem and then be sent down to the roots or up to the leaves. My oxygen, because there's a high concentration of oxygen inside my plant cell, is going to have to diffuse out into the environment. Because there's a high concentration here and a low concentration there, my oxygen is going to diffuse into the environment through the stomata. So any oxygen that's in my plant is going to diffuse into the environment. And that's it. That is photosynthesis. It's a bit complicated, but when you smash down the idea that gases are going to diffuse in and out, water is going to be taken into the root hair cell by osmosis, and then through the plant by transpiration, that glucose is going to be used by the plant, and then it's going to be sent to the other parts of the plant for respiration. And that oxygen, because there's a high concentration inside the leaf and a low concentration outside the leaf, is going to diffuse out. That's it.